flawless endgame for Noah Riley and Reason before the break saw them take the 4th victory royale of the day, and they've qualified for the Major 1 finals. There's one more victory royale up for grabs, and then 10 places based on consistency. So let's take a look at the standings and see who is still in contention and who really needs to up their game and potentially hit that #1 spot in our final game of the day. Where would you like to start, though, Takata? Because I know that everything can change here as we go into Game 5, because it did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is on. As a reminder, despite 10 duos qualifying through consistency, it doesn't mean it's top 10 on the leaderboard. It's actually top 15, including the duos that qualified through the VR. So if we look at that 15th place, the current cutoff is 101 points. Now, mind you, yesterday, the cutoff going into the last match was 96 points, and it ended at 143. It was consistently going up throughout the day, but for some reason, that last match had a big gap for that cutoff, a big range in terms of how many points changed. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but even the players in the top 10, especially the players down here in this section of the leaderboard, the pressure is definitely on.
So what you're saying then, Takata, is Vanya and Wox, they might be within contention at the moment, but they're absolutely not safe, because Vika and Malabuka, we thought they were safe. We thought they were a sure thing for the Major 1 finals based on consistency, and it turned out after Game 5 they were not.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, and they've been getting some pretty good zones too, but there's always, I don't know if it's little mistakes or what's going on, but I've seen Wox play as solo, Vanya play as solo. They're getting to these end games, but there was only one match where I saw them fully kitted up to actually play it out. They're kind of doing pretty good performances, but we have yet to see that big match from them.
Yeah, one of them just keeps going down, don't they? And it's just not what you need in these sort of lobbies. You'd expect both of them to have those individual firepower in order to get through those lobbies, but the game that you were talking about there, Takata, when they were up on height, they were set up for success. I think the zone pulled really far away, so they couldn't continue to play height. That was the game I thought they were going to win, but ended up being 9th. It's just not, they haven't quite been able to get the ball rolling today, and they need to do it right now in the last game.
You know who else really needs to do it? It's actually Seti. And it's Rax. If you missed the start of the show, I did say there was a Frankie Ward guarantee, which is Seti and Rax would definitely qualify at some point today. So let's take a look at the leaderboard to see where they are, because I did say that I would eat the post-it note with the guarantee on if they did not qualify, at least through consistency. They're not going to qualify through consistency because they're not even on the first 2 pages, boys. I need them to get a victory royale, but let's face it, it's not looking too great for them right now. And actually, you can see highlighted there, Mr. Savage and Velo. Things have been slightly looking up for them. They've managed to get off spawn in later games, minor. Things could change for them, but based on the performance so far, do you think they can really make the leap they need?
It's tough. It's going to be tough. They're going to need to do something magical here. I mean, this was the moment here in this end game where I saw Velo start to lead, and you could see them trying to come out of this box right here and get beamed by the whole lobby, and that's where Savage had to take over and say, right, I need to lead up here. They're going to drop, and they ended up dropping all the way down low to try and navigate through that end game. That rotation right there was the key moment where they went down, though. They were just too late to get to the next zone and ended up getting looked at by so many people. So they're going to need a really clean end game. What was that, 23rd? They haven't had too great of a performance. There's only one top 10 today.
The issue is the one game they kind of finally got off spawn at a pretty decent momentum. They got 8th place, and now they had that opportunity again, but they got 18th. So going into this last match, they really have to make some magic happen.
And I'm concerned for Tayson and Ghost as well. I think they were 45th going into game number 4. Their fortunes definitely haven't improved since then. It's definitely an interesting one because we've got the last chance qualifier coming up. You would have thought that Tayson, at least, he's used to this situation of having to perform at the last moments, and potentially we can see a victory royale from them. But potentially this is a duo that needs more time to Carter. Ghost's greatest success seems to have been in trios. Maybe he's still adjusting. That was back in chapter 3.
Look, he did qualify through a win. Ghost, it was game 3, but we're past that. There is one match left. So, I mean, hopefully, if they qualify, it has to be through a win. Like you said, 45th place. They've got 20 points. Consistency is not going to be the route that this duo has to take.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, even off spawn there, they were kind of a little bit more scared to fight off spawn, which is not what you'd associate with Tayson. And now maybe he's regretting the decision to play with someone new and upcoming. Maybe Ghost is regretting the decision to play with someone a bit more experienced. It's going to be interesting to see if they even stick together for last chance.
Literally, production is trolling me. They found Seti and Rax 36th position on the leaderboard. They went down 4 places in that last game, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, the performances haven't been great. They've had 3 22nd places today, and it just seems like that disjointed nature hasn't really fixed itself. It's something that we spoke about earlier on in the day. They haven't been winning those fights. They haven't been staying together as a duo. It's always been a bit of a rescue mission in every single one of their games to Casters. So looking pretty rough for this duo right now, and of course, they're far away, so they're going to need a win.
Who is going to take the win, though, guys? Is there anyone based on their performance in this lobby so far you're thinking, yeah, they've actually got the guaranteed win on this one? As someone maybe outside of consistency, Mini Miner, who do you think wants it most?
I want to see Savage do it. I want to see Savage, you know, I think the fans want to see Savage do it. If it's going to be a Savage thing to do, it's the very last thing that he does, which is qualify through. And can I just say as well, of course, where Seti is right now, based on their components, standard post-it notes likely taste like dry paper with a faint or slightly bitter synthetic taste from the adhesive. So we'll see if that's true.
Oh, do I have to eat the entire... Do I have to eat the entire thing? That's the question. If they get up to page 2, maybe I only have to eat just a tiny corner. We'll let Levin and Taco call it. What do I have to do? Just be kind to me, boys and girls.
I think you need to have the broadcast team and Epic wipe everyone's memories of that moment having ever taken place on the broadcast. I don't know if we can get like a wipe of the memory here, but if anything, I guess you could say that Seti and Rax are doing it for everyone else's entertainment, Frankie. I don't know, Levin, what do you think about that?
Yeah, like I want to see those guys score. I don't want to see them miss it, but I also want to see Frankie scoff the whole thing down and just, you know, make us laugh for eternity. So look, we had one of the best broadcast segments we've ever had yesterday with Kelly on NA. We might get the second best ever if this happens now with Frankie. So fingers crossed. Look, big game coming up. It's all on the cards. I think everybody now realizes the urgency, the severity of the situation. You cannot let this moment pass you by. You have to make this your game. And there's a lot of different names I'm looking at on this leaderboard right now, Taco, who they're gonna be fighting, you know, tooth and nail to try and make it happen.
Yeah, I'm expecting things to get kind of ugly out there, Levin, because even when you factor in top 23, it's all way too close for comfort, but we don't have to wonder. We'll get to see exactly what happens. Game 5 underway.
This is it. Game number 5 of Heat 2 is upon us, and it is now time for everybody in this lobby who has allowed the previous 4 games to pass them by to change their destiny. The off-spawn battles have been gruesome. They've been tough. And we will see the conclusion of this story at Squibbly Shores take place. Tayson, Ghost, finally outdropping Xterri. But will it even matter with them getting beamed up from every which way?
They don't even get the chance. Even though Xterri is just hanging on by a thread here, Ghost and Tayson are not able to fully capitalize just yet. I think part of this, Levin, is just the repercussions of this off-spawn having gone so heavily against Tayson and Ghost's favor early on that teams elsewhere have just been drawn to the fact, and now they want their own piece of the pie. We already saw the influence it had in the last lobby, and yet again, Tayson, Ghost have an incredibly difficult uphill battle. It is win or last chance qualifier that they're staring down the barrel of.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
Again, the reality is many people want to see it, right? You want to see it because we're big fans of these players and their history and all the amazing moments they've shown us. But the reality is, Taco, is they haven't showcased any ability today to be able to inspire that level of confidence. And so at the end...
Oh, come on. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi. What up with my Wi-Fi today? But it, yep.
nervous. The moment can't be too big for you to handle. We're gonna see
Satan, date you.
shock play right happen. And they will actually catch them out.
How not?
Clapsy,
that.
that is beautiful.
You not know that comment?
They needed that. That's for sure. Killed. Just trying to see if he can keep gathering that momentum. With Clapsy being so healthy, though, it'll be very easy for him to now take over the aggressive front. Jax, though, getting to benefit just a little bit off of that Flowberry grenade. Slightly unfortunate, but still not going to prevent Clapsy from finding yet another 50 chunk out of that shield. Killed. Now completely healthy, back to 200. Willing, just try and dive back in. His duo's already finished the sequence of events, though, and Clapsy with 2 solid eliminations here.
Yeah, and the reality is that's 2 teams that are trying to fight their way in. A replay of this one here, look at that. Knew exactly which way he was gonna exit the box and had the piece ready. Ghost and Tayson forcing the issue here a bit, getting a bit aggressive. I say that as they disengage, but they have won, which is inspiring. They're gonna need many more though, Taco, if they don't get the win.
And earlier today, you know, I'd asked you, hey, game 1 definitely didn't go in their favor. Do you stick to the plan, or you know, at this point, do you begin to start to try and reevaluate? And I do feel like they are at a point here where they don't necessarily need to abandon everything that they've been practicing leading up to this secondary heats. It's just a lot to contend with.
Nah, rip it up. Whatever the plan was, rip it up. Put it in the shredder. Get rid. You have to trust your instincts now. I think when you look at Tayson as a player, his biggest success, the best era of his career, what was his biggest advantage over people was his instincts, his intuition on the game. And we're gonna have to hope he can rely on those here in this final game to carry them through with the talent of a Ghost, the young Greek fragger who, again, has showed promise.
No, Saddam.
But on this stage, the biggest stage he might have been
Oh
on
no.
thus far,
Beginner Heat 1.
for
EU.
Tayson.
Baton made it. Someone did Bane. Oh my
See so many
fucking
teams
god.
just caught in these awkward engagements, teams that are sitting right around that halfway point where they haven't been quite consistent enough throughout the course of today's games to put themselves safely into that top 10 consistency placement section. But Misha and Kora are also just looking to shut down the dreams here right now for Uppal and Kyoto. They get a big exchange. Uppal, fortunately, gonna have to be brought back in. Kora trying to see if he can pick up the pieces here now, and Kora will pick up Kira, but Misha still looking, still hanging on. Uppal and Misha are both just so incredibly low, but it doesn't matter because you've got Kora able to close it out, but now Sadie and Druxies, this day has basically left them in a position where it's win or nothing. And they are full on ruining the dreams right now for both of these duos. But Kora and Misha, they're not willing to give it up just yet.
Yeah, the thing with these fights is as they draw out, you want to maintain control, you want to make sure you have exits. And when you're fighting from a couple tiles away like Druxies is here, you want to make sure you're keeping any angle advantages.
Still just haven't been able to really draw in fully onto where Misha and Kora are at, and I fear that this is kind of just fizzled out now for Sadie and Druxies, but they're still willing to give a little bit of chase. They know that they're going to need a big showing if they want this day to not result in just a last chance qualifier appearance. But for Misha and Kora, this could also be the moment that is able to essentially jumpstart their ability to make a really solid endgame finish. It's good placements, good eliminations, but that's not gonna be the case here. Sadie will find Kora, and Druxies on the other side cuts off Misha. So that will be the conclusion to their Major 1 finals for the time being. It's all up to the last chance qualifier now in that duo.
That's going to be something we say for a lot of the different teams as this game continues to tick on. Druxies and Sadie trying to make sure that we're not saying it about them. It won't be easy. With Dora and Extracito knocking on the door. They're running out of whites. Dora, gonna need something soon.
Gonna need some of that.
Plenty to work with.
Maybe the pizza. This is... Well, we saw one Spanish team with success earlier today. Extracito and Dora. They might be able to turn this in their favor. That's a really nice shot to connect, but Extracito doesn't see it coming from the other direction. And now that pizza will come into play, but Sadie is absolutely shutting teams down here. Extracito still trying to look if they can slide around. A lot of wiggly movement here. It's making things difficult for Druxies and Sadie, but having lost your duo, that is a big blow.
That's the problem when you're trying to take fights in the storm and your only white is pizza, right? For you to use it, you're gonna have to drop it down. Ideally, you know, it's gonna be in a moment where you have a bit more time and space to work with, but the flow of these fights just doesn't go that way, right? You're gonna take a big shot, you're gonna need your teammate to regroup with you. That allows the other team to come in and just pressure your walls, and that's exactly what happened there. It's not as free-flowing as maybe if you're working with splashes or something else, right? To sort of dance around with.
I feel like this exchange has also just gone on a little bit too long here for Druxies and Sadie. They will finally be able to close it out once and for all. They are the final duo left standing here at 4 Fields. 4 eliminations as well, but with how much time they just spent now having to make their way into zone. Granted, their net surge is probably looking pretty solid, but on that same note, you still have to push past teams that are just going to be settled in much better positions in comparison to a duo arriving so late.
These guys are trying to set themselves up early. Set Rax, big game on the line here. Not just for them, but also for Frankie, watching in the back. This is why we just shouldn't let anyone give out their guarantees, Taco. You know, save that for the experts.
You know, it's tough though, right? Right, Levin. They can't all be 2K guarantees. You know what I mean?
They can't. Clearly not.
Just.
But look, one thing we can say for certain is that there will be a lot of people rooting for them, and rightfully so. So much talent, so much experience on those two teams, on those two players, sorry. And it would be a shame, but we mentioned it. Well, you specifically mentioned it, Taco, right? That list of teams that have to call through last chance is getting spooky. And if they were to be added to it, it would just make that last chance qualifier that much more entertaining.
It's just the last place I'd want to be right now. Because it's not even about just making it to the last chance qualifier. You have to make it into the last chance qualifier finals too. And when there are so many strong contenders just already being factored into that from HEATS alone, on top of the ones that just weren't even in HEATS to begin with, again, it does become a little bit daunting. And I do feel for the players that have to kind of make their way forward through that option, but Mr. Savage and Velo, they're certainly a duo that is trying to avoid that at all costs, and they are within striking range. I mean, 73 points heading into this 5th lobby, 23rd position, but when you look at where 15th was at in the cutoff being 101 points, they are very realistically in the range to take over, but it is going to come down to these two needing to have a very strong performance. It can't just be an 8th place finish of 4 eliminations. They need more.
Yeah, they're gonna have to really pull out one of their best performances individually. And really, we've been saying it, but we keep saying it because it is the reality. There's just a lot of teams who it's just got to be a win. And as the zones get closer and closer, smaller and smaller, space for people to set up to do just that becomes so much more difficult. It's good to see the position Tayson and Ghost are in, right? This is the best position we've seen them in all day long. And so hopefully that can convert into something more significant than what we've seen them produce in previous rounds. Heshka and Cole, again, a team that early on in the day, you know, had some inspiring moments, but ultimately went quiet.
If there was ever a time for them to start making some noise, it is now, because they are also another one of those teams just kind of being factored in to being able to leapfrog some of the other competition inside of that top 10 for the consistency placements. We also saw some sparks of life from the Mont Blancs. That one game they went for hype, but aside from that, it just looks like the day has really been rather solid. It's been decent, but they are very clearly still trying to see if they can captivate a little bit more.
Absolutely. Louis and Rigby, two players who, again, don't necessarily have a wealth of experience by any means, but have definitely showcased some promise. Like you said, game 2 when they were up there on height, it definitely felt like they were a team that maybe would make waves today. And while they hold on to a qualification spot at the moment, they will need to make sure this game continues to add to their tally.
I think the main thing too is that so many teams, I mean, everybody noticed what happened with Biko and Malabuka, that early departure just being the separating factor. It's all about just making it into the placements. That's truly where things can begin to kind of shift, because so long as you get some points from where they are at, that could be all the difference. Swizzy, yeah, with that knock onto Vanya, it's pretty tough here, but Louis, Rigby, very difficult when you're looking at two teams that are just so close together and so in need of a solid final finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be very tough. Very, very tough. We obviously saw yesterday Biko and Malabuka in a spot that looked maybe safe to qualify, and then they go down in the final game and they miss out by just one position. You'd hate to see that happen again for Vanya and Woxt in a similar spot. So we'll see if they can cling on to their position right now.
Always a little bit of a nail biter involved with these types of tournament formats. That's just the nature of the game. Strapped in, Jewel, 24 below, currently on the damage threshold. Lurking, crouching, waiting to see. But they might not have time on their side. They're gonna need to start getting active. Fortunately, they don't have to go full-on desperation measures, jumping into somebody's box just yet, but getting these tags and seeing that it's SETI on the receiving end. But that's exactly what Strapped in Jewel needed. SETI and Rax, though, they're gonna have to try and play for the recovery here. They're losing so much HP on that rotate.
Oh no. Almost running into the wrong box there, Jewel. And unfortunately, it's gonna cost him either way. He gets shot in the back. We'll group up with Strapped, but they have spent so much of their resources and utility to get to this position, and it's not necessarily even the best one they could be in. What's going on? Oh my goodness, Khan. The highlights don't stop for them, even in this final game.
Mr. Savage, Velo, just trying to make it forward, but Savage has fallen. It's all down to Velo. Fury just doing what he can. Velo needs to connect with the shots. A little bit of shakiness there, but he holds strong, at least for right now. 180 on the Chug Jug, 4 splashes. A mythic AR, but Velo, he's got the whole world in front of him. And he's trying to crack it wide open, but on the front side of zone, there are just so many other teams that he has to contend with. SETI and Rax down in the low ground, front side. Frozy will be taken down, but they need to get the finish. They need to get the materials. Azak gonna be able to cut them off just a little bit, cause some slight delay here. SETI and Rax, they are just not healthy. And with surge ticks now, away at their HP bars. Rax and Seti, they're trying to make a move, but they need an elimination. They've got to just go against Azza, but Azza's just not giving them the opportunity. He's just holding them at bay. He can tell that they're injured. He can tell that they need this more than him. Even without his duo, he's still willing to just force Seti and Rax now to push off here. And so many of these teams, Levin, it's just starting to fall apart.
How many of these players right now are just holding on to a thread? Their dreams of the FNCS final slipping through their fingers. Seti falls, and Rax now has the weight of the world on his shoulders. With just 9 builds and no shields, stuck in the zone. He can't even get out of the zone. He's trying to break a tree. The medkit pop will keep him alive, but not for long enough. They will be bound to the LCQ. And he's not the only one left. Velo trying to keep the Mr. Savage dream alive. Trexer and Kiddo up on height. They need a big game. And they have a lot of hungry players beneath them that are looking to clutch up now.
But this is Velo's opportunity to cement himself as more than just an up-and-comer. These are the moments that can really determine the future is here, but Velo, he can't get away. He's trapped inside the box, and it is over now. Savage and Velo will have to see things out in the last chance qualifier. And for the rest of this lobby, Ghost. Also, another one of our teams just kind of hanging about here. Trexer and Kiruo, they know that they need this win if they want to avoid the last chance qualifiers. But Trexer,
okay, yeah, EU last kick card though is
still hanging on despite having lost the
so freaking start. Why so much big team miss the offensive so far?
Seen them yet here today, Levin. They've got some heals to work with, but they've caught the attention of the high ground. They're trying to see if they can chop it out, and sure enough, Trexer are going to be sent tumbling down.
They're going for the gambit. They don't need the materials. They know they just need to take their opponents out. They know what they need, and it is a win. Going for everything right now, Tayson and Ghost. This is what legends are made of. Up above. Can they continue to close this lobby out? So many players still left. So many in the zone trying to find a way to stay in the game. Kaduo in the backside might just look for revenge against them. He will chop it. They will fall. Kaduo will rise, but not before falling on the front side. Tayson and Ghost still have an opportunity to regain the height.
And Kiduo also eliminated for his troubles there, but now Tayson, Ghost, they're trying to see whether or not they can actually maintain height for the duration of this lobby. Nagi underneath, scrambling, so many players getting caught. The pressure just overwhelming though, and Nagi will fall. Ghost, Tayson, they might just be able to do it here. This is everything for Tayson's legacy as a player, as an individual, and Ghost right alongside him, building up. Fernek and Dinas, the only two that remain. The Poles trying to see if they can also bring themselves into that Major 1 finals. But Tayson and Ghost, they refuse to let go. Even with only 8 builds remaining, it's just Fernek and Dinas that they have to contend with, where it's removed from the low ground.
Bomb midget, I'm ready. Did the final game. Offense, yes.
Okay, just come join me. I'm just gonna do the game then.
Okay, yeah.
Alright.
Ghost might have something to say though, and he can't get the shots. Frenek and Dinas just stealing away the hopes right now for Tayson and Ghost. A heartbreaking scene, Levin, but at the same time, the Poles just delivered.
Damn.
These guys have shown throughout the day that they had what it takes to be a team that can play in the major finals, and big moments require big players, and that is what they have shown here. Frankie, break it all down. These guys deserve their spot.
That was an absolutely crazy endgame with pitch perfect commentary by the fabulous Levin and Taco. My word, the cinema we have seen today to Carter, and I couldn't be more happy for Dinas and Fernek.
I am speechless. I truly am. I was not sure which way it was going to go because both of the duos in those final moments needed this win to qualify themselves to the major finals. Fernek with those last pumps connecting is what solidified that golden ticket. Throughout the day, 48th, 43rd, 21st, it was just not going their way. In the second to last match, they did get a 9th, and now with the win, have made it to the finals.
I mean, when I was watching that, you just think, yeah,
the difference is so much
do it right.
on the way the team.
Hadn't had a look at the top 10
what
all
Borderline
day, and then just turns up in the last game. But he just got foiled there
with
at
no
the end. I think it was a big
wasn't
shot
the
from
new
Fernek that
Fortnite.
shut him down, just
Feel
opened up the
like it.
door, and it looked as though that it kind of worked out for Tayson's team. They didn't have those extra materials, so the zone pulls back over the old builds. You think, right, they might have a chance right here, because of course they don't have the builds, but these guys just turned it around so quickly. Dinas and Fernek, I mean, they're a team that we haven't seen loads of today, but that's what this format can do. It can soar you all the way up, and this was what I was talking about here. The shot from Fernek to drop down onto Tayson to hit that first shot. And Ghost had so much to do, but he couldn't end up doing it. But big ups to these guys, the qualifying 3.
I mean, what a
So, I mean,
fantastic
who made
game
it?
fight to wrap things up in Heat 2. With Tayson and Ghost able to perform like that under pressure, I think they've got some good chances in that last chance qualifier on Tuesday mini minor, because there are going to be 5 games. There's 5 spots still up for grabs. Hopefully, though, they're not going to leave it until the last game.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully they get there, of course. Hopefully they qualify through. Hopefully they stick together as well, because, of course, sometimes you do get some team switches, especially when they are newer players coming in. Maybe Tayson's having questions. Maybe Ghost is having questions right now, because I know Ghost even played with a different teammate for the first Divisional Cup this season. So I hope they do stick together. I hope they work through some of those mistakes. A lot of off-spawn troubles for them, really, when you look at their day as a whole. And it just all culminated into this performance at the end, where you thought it was going to happen for them, but it was just too little too late, Takata.
Yeah, I mean, even leading up to this, you know, their expectations weren't at an all-time high, and it was a difficult drop being contested not only on their spot, but from the west side as well. They finally were able to make it to an end game. They did not disappoint in that end game until the final moments, where they weren't able to close it out. So, you know, I'm hoping that we see more of them in Last Chance. I mean, you can see how confident they were playing from height. When you talk about experience, I mean, Tayson, one of the GOATs of EU, competitive now in a bit of a rough patch. It's all going to be up to the Last Chance qualifier for this team if they end up playing together, Mini.
He'll be back. Tayson will be back. I talked about it at the beginning of the day. Had a bit of a rough patch in duos. Had those random run of 15th places, that, you know, 3 or 4 or something in a row, and bounced back from it in trios. So hopefully he can do that on a more smaller scale now and bounce back in the next few days, because that's when they're going to be playing next. So a quick turnaround for them, but I'm sure they'll do it.
The thing that's interesting about this, I think, is maybe if it was Major 1 last year, maybe they wouldn't be looking to change duos for the Last Chance qualifier. I mean, you've got so little time, but also there's another couple of majors to qualify for global championships. But 20 spots for EU are on the line for Major Summit 1. Everyone wants to go to Düsseldorf on the 30th and 31st of May. You can't get there if you don't qualify for the Grand Finals next weekend. Let's take a look, though, at who has qualified. Starting with our Victory Royale winners, let's just remind ourselves, Cheaton and Janez getting it done in 1 at the start of the day. We've got our Spanish duo, Takata. You were celebrating them taking it in game 2.
That I was. Gary and Syaz, they got the job done. Also, we have more very big names that made it through. I'm excited to see how Reason and Noah perform. I mean, Reason being a German legend, hopefully going to have the shot to play in Germany later this year at the Summit, but they still have to get the job done in the major finals.
Every crowd on LAN loves him, so imagine him in front of his home crowd,
so
hometown. Actually, I don't know which city he's from. His home country crowd, I should say. Now, let's take a look then at the 10 duos who've qualified through consistency. And there you have it. Cantry and Ju, it's not a... Oh, hang on a second. I apologize. We're looking at the standings. I'm so sorry. So let's actually look at Swizzy and Pixie. It was inevitable in 6th position, and then let's cast our eyes down. Who made it across the line?
Wow.
And there you can see in 18th position, Vanya and Wox did not mini minor.
I mean, this Last Chance qualifier is looking stacked I don't even think there's 5 big name teams. Like, there's too many big name teams to qualify through those 5-game wins. Like, there will inevitably mathematically be an upset in these last chance qualifiers. And even talking about like switching up